Hi, this is John with Apollo Sprayers. Today we're going to be talking about one of the features that we build into all of our digital systems. That is our Precision 6 and our Maximizer 3000. And that is the power pause feature. This is a very important feature. It's one of the reasons why we can give you the extended warranty that we do with the Precision 6 system, because it helps to keep the motor running a lot cooler. And the cooler we can keep these motors running, the more efficient they are, the more pressure they give you, and the better spraying results that you get. So let's dive into exactly how the power pause system works and how you can operate your system without being frustrated by this particular feature. So let's talk about the power pause. The power pause feature is built into the system, so there's nothing you actually have to do to activate it, or there's nothing you can do to deactivate it either. The way it works is by through the pressure sensing of the board itself. The board is constantly sensing the pressure that the machine is pulling out. If you pull the trigger, the machine pressure will drop slightly until the motor ramps up to bring that pressure back to where you had it preset at. And this is for a momentary split second, as you'll see here in a second. Then when we release the trigger, the pressure spikes momentarily. So as you're normally pulling and releasing the trigger as you make your passes across your substrate, the machine is seeing this fluctuation of pressure going backwards and forth. And that's what it needs to see in order to think that you're using and operating the system. If you hold the spray gun or the trigger open, or you put the gun down and walk away to answer a telephone call or something else, a counter will start digitally inside the machine. This counter is set for a 50-second timing. At 50 seconds, there'll be a beeping noise that starts. And we'll go through this process here in a second and show you exactly what's going to happen. But the beeping will start with intermittent beeping for the first 5 seconds, and then after that you'll get about 4 to 5 more seconds of a long beep. And that is a warning. That beeping is warning you to release the trigger. 99% of the time when you get that beeping happening when you're using the system, it's because you're holding the trigger open. And when you hold the trigger open, that basically makes the pressure to the system flatline. So you have no fluctuation in pressure at all anymore. No back pressure on the motor. And so when it sees that flat line, it thinks you've put the gun down, because it's no different than if I release the trigger and set the gun down and walk away, or if I just hold the trigger open. Doesn't have that back pressure fluctuation. So the machine's going to think that you've gone away and not using it anymore. So we need to tell the machine every 50 seconds that, hey, we're still using it. So if you have a long job where you have to hold the trigger open for a long period of time, make sure that when you get to the end of your pass, you can release the trigger at least once before you start the second going back on that pass. If you don't, then you could have the beeping start in the middle of your pass, in which case it could be bad if you end up not making it to the end of your pass. So you want to time the trigger releases with the ends of your passes before you get the beeps, so that you don't have any premature drop of your pressure. Because the power pause feature drops the pressure of the machine from wherever you have it set at to about 2 psi. And this is what we've determined is like a tick over or cool down mode, that the machine can still draw cool ambient air in to cool the motor down and keep it running, but it does, and it's better than if you shut it off so that it doesn't just radiate the heat inside the case. So by keeping that cool air running through the motor, we cool the motor down a lot faster and keep it cooler. If I want to reset and restart that after it's gone into the power pause, all I have to do is just pull the trigger. And again, I'm going to demonstrate all this here in just a second. But all I got to do is pull the trigger and the pressure will come right back up to where I preset it. So make sure that you're pulling and releasing the trigger at least once every 50 seconds, and you will never hear the beeping noise until you put the gun down and walk away. So let's show you now exactly how the power pause works and operates, so that you can be familiar with that when you get your system. Okay, so now that we've talked about the features of the power pause, let's go through and demonstrate how to use it and how it works. Okay, so the first thing, you turn on the machine, and if you've got your speed control turned all the way down to the hour meter, you're going to see the hours on the machine. And then as I rotate it up, I'm going to have the motor spin up. And for demonstration, I'm just going to use 3 psi of pressure in the machine. But what I want you to focus on is when I pull the trigger, you'll see the pressure drop momentarily and then drop right back to 3 psi. And then when I release the trigger, you'll see the opposite happen. So the machine is constantly sensing the pull and the release of your trigger and adjusting the motor speed accordingly. So if I hold the trigger open and I never release it at the end of my pass, then you can see the machine is keeping the pressure the same, but in 50 seconds it's going to start beeping at me. So let's wait. We'll wait out for 50 seconds. I'm going to hold the trigger open. We're going to listen to the beep. But once the beep starts, then I can release the trigger right away and it should stop. So that's the first thing I'm going to do first, is show you how you can immediately release the trigger and stop the power pause from happening altogether. So the beeping is your warning before it actually shuts down and goes into the drop pressure of the 2 psi. So just release the trigger and it stops beeping. That's all I had to do, was just release the trigger, and now the counter has started all over again. So going back, I'm pulling the trigger, you'll see the pressure drop and fluctuate back to the 3 psi I have it set at. When I release the trigger, it spikes and goes right back to the 3 psi. So let me demonstrate that again. This time I'm going to hold the trigger open and I'm going to let it drop into the power pause mode instead of holding it and stopping it from going, or releasing the trigger right when it starts beeping. I'm going to let it drop and then I'll show you how to reset it. So now I could release the trigger, but I'm not going to. So now I'm going to get the long beep, and then you're going to hear the machine shut, power down. So now it's in power pause, and you'll physically see the warning come up on the screen that says power pause to let you know that it's in power pause. Now to reset this, I need to let the power pause settle for a second or two. I can't just immediately pull the trigger or it won't go. So all I need to do is pull the trigger after it's sat for about 2 to 3 seconds. And as you can see, the machine comes right back up to where I had it preset at. Doesn't matter what pressure I had it set at, it will come back to that same exact point every time I pull the trigger after it goes into the power pause mode. We'll do it one more time. So again, the machine is watching fluctuation. I'm not pulling the trigger. Okay, so now I need to wait a second or two. And now I pull the trigger and it comes right back up to speed. Okay, so now we've gone through the power pause. I hope that helps you a little bit to understand this very, very important feature. It's so important, it's a patented feature that Apollo has because it really helps the motors stay cool and keeps you having better performance for your machine. So I hope this helps. If you do need additional help, please always reach out to customer service. We're happy to help you anytime. Thank you for choosing Apollo Sprayers.